Welcome leaders, take your seats. AI's changing how the C-suite meets. Talentfoot presents today. Insights clear, practical ways. Meet Patrick Patterson, here to share. CEO leading with digital flair. Coding young AI ahead. Algorithms built and vision led. Today you'll learn to see it through. Real world AI, tried and true. Beyond the hype, today's your chance. AI workflows in advance. Growth and speed for those who lead. Real AI that you can heed. You don't need code or tech degrees. Patrick's here, he'll show with ease. C-suite.
This is amazing, Camille.
You are quite the musician.
Practical steps, clear and precise. Blueprint given, real advice. Beyond the hype, today's your chance. AI workflows in advance.
Wow, what a kickoff to an exciting hour together. Thank you, Patrick, for that AI music track. You mentioned it when we were prepping for this session, and I was shocked at how quickly you pulled off that track. I think you sent it within 60 seconds of us hanging up.
Right.
Incredible. So hello and welcome everyone to our third session in the AI C-Suite series. I'm Camille Fetter, the founder and CEO of Talentfoot Executive Search. Whether you've joined us for earlier sessions or you're jumping in for the first time, we're absolutely thrilled to be spending the next hour together. At Talentfoot, if you're not familiar with us, we recruit forward-thinking leaders from the manager level to the C-suite across all major business functions, from sales, marketing, technology, operations, and finance. So really, most of our work is spent working with high growth organizations. We do a lot of work in private equity, we do a lot of work in venture, and even up to enterprise. And we find ourselves regularly working with the C-suite and executive teams, investors, on ensuring that they are aligning their talent strategy with their growth thesis. And there's typically, oftentimes, shockingly, a big disconnect there. So we're constantly at the forefront of what the hiring needs are, what's changing from a talent lens standpoint. And right now we're seeing a major shift. I've been in this business for 20 years, and I've never seen such a shift in terms of expectations of what hiring teams are looking for from a skill set standpoint, how candidates are being assessed, and really what great talent looks like. So that's exactly why we've launched this series. We're on a mission to future-proof careers and companies through this next wave of digital transformation. So on to our session. Today, we're going to go beyond the hype. There's a lot of AI content out there, and a lot of it just stays in theory and concepts and philosophy. And today we're going to go well beyond the hype. We're going to go into the how. You're going to see actual AI workflows. You're going to see sales automation examples. You're going to learn the latest tools driving results and the culture shift necessary to stay relevant. Before we jump in and introduce our guest speaker, I'd love for us to be able to get a chance of knowing who's in the room and also give all of you the opportunity to get familiar with your colleagues in the room. If you could use the chat feature and drop your title, your industry, your location, and get ready for it, how many Gen AI tools you're regularly using. You're not just testing, but you're regularly using.
I cheated, Camille. I'm using about 20 plus, I think. So we'll see. I need to get a full count.
And that's a perfect segue into my introduction for you. And also, real quick, speaking of the chat, we want this to be as interactive as possible. And you're going to learn a ton from Patrick this afternoon, but you also have an opportunity to learn quite a bit from each other. There's some incredible minds in the room. And please don't be shy. If you have tips, takeaways, please share it with your colleagues in the room. This is a very senior level audience with, again, brilliant minds. So take advantage of the time being in this powerful room together. And then we will be having, we'll have 45 minutes with Patrick, and then we'll do 15 minutes of Q&A. Please use the Q&A feature, not the chat, the specific Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to ask questions throughout. We're going to aggregate those questions, and then we will be ensuring to try to get to as many of those questions at the end of our time as possible. So again, please don't be shy. So this might sound a little strange, but if there was a reality show where I could just watch our guest speaker work, I'd be hooked. Patrick, you've heard me say this before, right? I could just watch you work. Patrick doesn't just work differently, he thinks differently. And that's exactly what I'm hoping each of you will walk away with after our hour together. So please join me in an official welcome of my friend Patrick Patterson, CEO of Level Agency.
Thank you so much, Camille. I just want to do webinars with you because you're just so nice to me whenever it's the nicest you are ever to me, I think. No, you're always nice to me. I'm gonna start sharing my screen here. Are you able to see that?
Absolutely. You are good to go.
Excellent. Well, we're gonna jump in, and Camille, thanks for that intro. Feel free to jump in as well. I'm gonna try to keep track of chat here. And feel free to jump in if folks are asking questions. I know we have some poll questions that will go out throughout, so make sure you're paying attention to that. I will correct one thing, Camille. I am an enthusiast. I am not an AI expert, right? I don't think there are any AI experts right now. I think Zuckerberg maybe hired like 4 or 5 of them in the past week and a half. But it's moving so fast that I am someone who is really excited about it and really passionate about it. And if I'm doing my job today, my goal is I want to spark some imagination of what's possible and how real world organizations are using this today. So you can take it back to your team, take it back to your group, or even your own workflow, and have a real impact beyond just the hype. So with that, I'll jump in. Every time I start a presentation, I always ask ChatGPT to do it for me. So this is no change here. Unfortunately, it told me that I needed to make it myself. So what you're about to see is done by me, not done by ChatGPT. Who am I? I am the CEO of Level Agency. We're about 175 folks, 200 folks around across 30, I think it's 38 states now. We work with predominantly digital advertising and complex ecosystems like financial services and education and regulated spaces. My background is math and computer science. I've been coding AI since the early 2000s. I should have stuck with that. I'd be a billionaire now. Instead, I went to the dark side, that is sales and marketing, and had a ton of fun. Just a fun fact about me. I owned a Google Glass. I'm one of the 12 that bought a Google Glass. More fun fact is I actually sold Bitcoin to buy a Google Glass. So I think that is now the most expensive Google Glass in history, probably over $1 million I spent on that Google Glass if you do the conversion now. My superpower is I am lazy like most developers. And because of that, I love automation. I love AI. I've been the guy on the New York City street corner saying AI is coming now for the past 5 years. So it's super exciting that it's here. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to go really quickly. I know you've had some other sessions. If you were lucky enough to join those, you probably heard some of the background, some of the history. So I'll go quickly through that, but just to give you some idea there. And then we're going to go into some real use cases and examples. I'll talk some tools and next steps, and then hopefully we'll have some time for introduction, assuming I can get through this. Little disclaimer. Everything I say here will expire in 30 days. It is moving so fast. Every time I do one of these presentations, I think, Camille, you asked for this on Monday, and I said, I can't send it to you because I'm going to make edits up until the presentation. And that is actually true. So everything here will expire in 30 days, but the concepts hopefully will not. So where are we right now? We're in peak, even your grandma is talking about AI in the hype cycle. And it is absolutely bonkers. It is impossible to know what is true, what is not true. There's so much noise. It's really, really hard to find the signal. What is nice is this is the updated 2025 version of this hype cycle. You're starting to see generative AI and edge AI actually out of the peak of inflated expectations. Now we're entering into this trough of disillusionment where, we're kind of questioning what these things can do. I'm super excited to get to that slope of enlightenment and plateau of productivity where we can turn these things across the board into real results for everyone. You can see, Gartner's thinking 2-5 years before we start to get to that plateau of productivity on some of these things. AI agents, totally on that top of that hype cycle right now. So it's really, really hard to know, like, hey, where do I invest my time? Where do I invest my money? How do I sign up for those tools? It's even harder for investors, right? Because everyone has slapping AI on everything. So hopefully you'll leave here today with a little bit of a better education on how to make those decisions. This is nothing new, right? AI has been around for a while. Alan Turing back in the 1950s invented the Turing test for us to be able to a way of testing machines. What is new since I started coding AI back in the early 2000s is the improvements that have been made to handwriting, speech, image reading, and language understanding, right? If you look at that, it was terrible at this in the early 2000s. In about 2020, it all became better than human performance. This really, I love a visual example of this. If we look at Midjourney, which just, creates images from a prompt, back in V1, this is all the same prompt, right? Back in V1, which was February of 2022, all the way to V6, which is December 2023. I think we're on V7 now. We went from my kid could do a better version of this to this is photorealistic and I don't need to hire a photographer anymore. And that was in a short, less than 18-month period. It's crazy how fast this stuff is moving, right? But the most amazing fact about all of this is we're all going to look back on this a year from now, and it's all going to be quaint. It's all going to be antiquated, right? Because the technology has never been worse than it is today. That's be a theme that you hear me say throughout this, right? It's really, really hard as all of this technology changes so quickly to know what to use and to know which one is the best for what thing, right? If you look at this is all of the frontier models mapped by GPQA score, which is just a way that they're scoring them right now. The leader as of this morning, I think this is as of this morning, it is Gemini 2.5 Pro Preview. My last time I did this presentation was like a couple weeks ago. It was O3 Pro. This changes on a fairly on a fairly regular basis. And so when you're looking at these frontier models, when you're saying, hey, should I use Claude? Should I use Gemini, Grok, OpenAI? Really right now, and if you kind of take a look at these GPQA scores, anything kind of in this 75 and above is amazing. And if these are the way that you do this test is it's 400 questions that, I can't answer one of them. And these tools are answering 86% of them correctly, right? They're all like master's level, crazy advanced questions. So really, really advanced stuff. But each one of these has kind of its own kind of best use case. Really, and just like photography, the best camera is the one you have on you. The best frontier model is the one that you use and that you get really comfortable with, right? And we can walk through a little bit of that. Gemini, I used to like rag on Gemini. It is now the top model. 2.5 Pro is amazing. Built into, if you're a Google Workspace user, it can absolutely kick butt with its connectors. And so, I highly recommend at this point playing around with OpenAI and Gemini and Claude, and then Grok is absolutely great as well. Like these are the ones that you want to be playing around with to get the results that I'm going to be talking about in the next two sections of this presentation. This is from a leaked document from OpenAI of kind of where we are in the progression of this, right? Level 1 was chatbot. That was when 3.5 Turbo came out. Level 2, reasoning models. You saw the reasoning O1 came out with OpenAI. Now we're in O3, which is agents, which is deep research and things like that. we haven't hit level 4 and level 5. It's very exciting, kind of the next year, 2 years, 3 years of this, where we start to have AI that can aid in invention. If you saw I think the first AI generated drug is either going into trials or something like that. And then like the first AI differential diagnosis in healthcare happened. Like these are really, really cool things that are happening. We're starting to get into that level 4 and then level 5. These are whole organizations that are using AI to do the work and through agents. Again, super important that you understand this. You are using the worst version of all of these models every time you use it. So if it blows your hair back, if it's absolutely amazing, you're like, holy cow, I can't believe it just did that. Just remember that tomorrow it will be better than that. So it's really important to keep up. As I go through a lot of these talks and master classes, I see a lot of confusion around these different things called, automation or AI agents, and what is it? And I kind of wanted to walk through briefly and I'll give some examples of these, but the differences between these. So automation is purely like, I have things to do. I'm going to put it in a system like Zapier or Make or N8N, and it's going to go through a list of things that might be an if this, then that type of thing. And it's gonna execute those steps. We've all been doing that hopefully for the past 5-10 years. Then we have automation plus AI. That's where we have an automation that we created, but there's a point where it would be really nice to get some human input or maybe some decision input. And that's where we can use AI, generative AI like ChatGPT or Claude, to actually help advance that automation to remove the human input and start to kind of put decision or creativity or things throughout that automation. Then you have AI agents, which is different than automation plus AI. An AI agent, you give a task and it says, these are all the things that I need to do to complete that task. And then you give it a set of tools and it says, I'm going to go use these tools to complete that task for you. That is very, very, very different than automation plus AI, because you have to determine every step of the way with automation plus AI. With AI agents, they're actually determining it for you. So a really great example of this from Andrew. You should follow him on Twitter. I'll have his link later. This is, please type out an essay on topic X from start to finish in one go without using backspace, right? That is a zero shot, non-agentic workflow. It's just going to go ahead and do that. Agentic workflow, write an essay outline on topic X, and it's going to ask you need any web research. Then it's going to write a first draft, consider what parts need revision, revise your draft. It's going to do all of that. And it's going to say, okay, this is done. I've completed it to the specification. It's going to get it done for you. Just like an agency, I work at an agency. You give us agency to do work on your behalf to hit a certain result. That's what an agent is doing for you, right? So really, really important. And we all have access, hopefully, if you have the paid version of ChatGPT today, which you all should, we all have access to agentic AI today. So OpenAI's deep research, Google's deep research, this is agentic AI. And if you haven't used it, this is actually, Camille, I know we don't, this is a question that we didn't have. I'd love to know, has anyone here, who here is using these deep researches, and are you using it on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, or have you only used it one time? I think that would be really cool if you could throw that down in a chat just to understand everyone's understanding of this today. So if you look here, Tyler Cohen saying, I have had it write a 10-page papers for me. It's at the level of a PhD level research assistant that went away for a week or two and came back, right? That is absolutely bonkers. That, we are at a level where you can give AI a task and what the output that you're getting is on par with what a PhD level research assistant could do with 2 weeks of work. And you're getting it typically within 15 minutes to an hour. So if you haven't used deep research, I see people who use it here monthly, often, some folks that are just starting to explore it, which is great. This is how you do it. This is a little older in the UI, but you'll be able to see it. You're going to ask it a question, and then, it's going to come back and it's going to ask you questions. And this is actually a great tip. Even if you're not using deep research, have ChatGPT ask you questions to clarify and get more context, right? So you're like, hey, I want to do this. Now ask me 10 questions so you have more information about it. Here, it automatically does that. it goes and you give it the answers, and then it goes and starts the task. You'll get notified. It's going to go out into the web. It's going to gather all of this stuff, and you're going to get a research report that is really, really, really well done. Not perfect, really, really, really well done. So very amazing. Highly recommend that you're utilizing this. All right, we're going to jump in to some use cases and guides. I think that's the reason you came here. So we're going to talk through a little bit of how I use it, how our team uses it. Um,
And
you know,
before you jump
yeah,
into that, Patrick,
go
just
ahead.
quick question for the audience. So there's a lot of talk around use cases to help really understand where organizations should prioritize AI within their organizations today, right? And there's a lot of functions, departments kind of duking it out, right, for the attention of AI. So curious to hear from the audience. Does your team clearly have clearly defined AI use cases? Drop a Y in the chat if it's a yes, you're actively implementing and have organized use cases. Drop an S in the chat if you've somewhat started to codify the use cases and you're still exploring, or an N in the chat if your organization has not yet codified your use cases.
I love it. Thank you. Looks like a lot of yeses, which is really encouraging to see. I'd say that was very different response last year when we asked that question. So really great to see that a lot of companies are embracing this. So it's very possible that some of these use cases that I'm going to go over here are actually, maybe some use cases that you guys have already thought of. Hopefully there's a few ideas in here for for things that your company isn't doing, or that you could do for your company or for your clients. So we've really embedded at Level AI throughout our entire workflow. So that's from everything on onboarding clients to doing research to doing the creative execution, test design, media activation, measurement, continuous improvement loop. We don't think about AI by itself as like a tool that we use. We think of it as an enabler to get the work done across every single aspect of our business, right? So you can see some of the tools that we're using: N8N, ChatGPT, Grok. If we zoom in maybe just on like a real example, here's a kind of a generative AI supported workflow that we use on a daily basis. So we have an intake form for onboarding that's going to then automatically trigger task creations in Asana. It posts into Slack. So this is a new client coming on board. It posts into Slack in the ops channel. A client dossier and a client knowledge navigator GPT is initialized. I'll talk about what that means. We then have APIs going out to Resonate, SparkToro, and Buzz AI that are pulling the data and doing research, and then generating insights and concepts. It's storing all of those summaries and insights into a database for folks to access. And then a strategist is then assigned to create the briefing documents. We then use AnyWord and add creative AI to score and optimize those assets. We have a versioning platform that we use. We store the final review, and then the creative lead is going to review that. So this is, hey, we need some new creative coming in. How can we do that? It's going to take that intake form. It's going to go out, do the research. It's going to do the creative execution. We do have humans stepping in across the way for all of these things, but this is just, one way where we've taken a process that used to take probably a week and a half, and got it down to 2 or 3 hours. And if you can do that over and over again, and everyone's process is going to be different, everyone's workflow is going to be different, so only you can know what those golden use cases are. Then the beautiful part about this whole thing is then you can optimize it and you can make it better next week, right? Because now it's completely automated, it's completely done, and every time you make an update to it, you can scale it and you can improve everyone inside your organization. So that's a kind of an advanced one. So I wanted to kind of start advanced, but then let's just talk about some beginner use cases. Maybe you have never used ChatGPT to do anything other than to help you figure out what to cook for dinner tonight, right? Totally fine. One of the things I love, persona twins. I do this all the time. I have an AI board of directors. I have all of our clients have their own custom GPTs that allow us to talk to our clients about the brand. So what we do is you can go in, you can basically create a custom GPT. I have a how to do that in about 3 or 4 slides, I think. And then you can then give it all of the information about your brand, all the data, give it a whole persona, and then use that as a first reviewer of copy, creative, strategies, all of those things for faster iteration, right? It used to be very expensive to have an idea. And I know that sounds crazy, right? But think about this. You used to have an idea and then you'd have to then beat it up, write a brief, and then you'd have to go to a team and they'd have to review it and they would go, give you some insight, and then you'd have to go to the client, you have to pitch it, right? Now we can get real time feedback on bad ideas. And I come up with bad ideas all the time, Camille. I don't know about you. We can get real time feedback on bad ideas, which takes the cost of bad ideas to zero, right? It's really, really exciting. And I use this literally multiple times, maybe dozens of times a day. We've all heard about social media first draft. This is using a custom GPT, training on all your past posts, and then give it parameters on length, tone, audience, and have it start giving you social posts that you're then going to edit, make better, and post on social media. You're not going to post AI slop straight to social media. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. But this is a great way to stop writer's block. Maybe you have something to say, you're not quite sure what you want to say or how you should say it. It's a great way to do it. And then, little bonus tip. Think about what your social media pillars are. And then every time you have a social media post, have it assess whether you're hitting your pillars, have it assess whether you're hitting your goals, and have it offer you improvements on how you could go back to that brief that you had that you probably forgot about, that it will never forget about, and really assess whether it's good or bad. RFPs, you guys can read that one. Project managers, email personalization. We're going to talk a little bit on a future slide. I have the way you can do this, and the bonus board deck GPT. I don't know how many CEOs are in the audience right now. I use a GPT that I have trained with personas for every single one of my board members, as well as my chairman, past board decks, best practices around creating board decks. Every time I create a slide, I actually take a screenshot, I put it in, and I say, how could this be better? Help me write this, help me draft this. What is my board going to think about this? I did this presentation for my for an audience. My chairman was in the audience. He's like, that's how your board decks are so good. I said, absolutely. I say, act as my chairman and make it better. So just a little hint there. So this is a great, I think email personalization and personalization in general is a great use case for AI. And, this is not really technical, but kind of a overall workflow that you can use to start thinking about, how do I do one-to-one personalization for my audience? So we all have CRMs. Hopefully you're using HubSpot, using Salesforce, whatever it is. You're capturing key details, you're tracking behaviors, you're creating those profiles inside of your CRM. You take that, let's say you're in a B2B world, and then you have Browse AI actually analyze that visitor's company through web scraping and get more information about that organization. If you're not in a B2B world, let's say you're in a B2C world, you can scrape social media, you can scrape publicly available information. You'd be surprised on what feedback you can get about an individual. You then take that and you take, and I don't know if anyone's used the jobs to be done framework, but you use the jobs to be done framework against all the information that you have, and you build kind of this custom persona. So this is now not, we all had personas, marketing personas, where you have like 5 and it's like Sally and Kevin and whatever, right? Now we have one-to-one persona for that individual prospect. And then you say, okay, these are all my services and all my resources and everything that I have. What do you think would resonate with this one-to-one persona? So it's now recommending, hey, send this case study and offer these services because you're going to be able to fill this job to be done, right? And so it now has a recommendation brief, a one-to-one recommendation brief. And then you ask it, okay, now craft a personalized email that incorporates all of that info. And then you're going to edit with a human and send, right? So if you're doing it, a lot of folks, especially in a B2B world, you're not sending 1 million emails a day. You're sending a few thousand maybe, right? And so there's a really, if you can count the number of prospects you have, maybe you're doing account-based marketing or ABM, this is a way to really create one-to-one emails that are going to 2, 3, 4x your open rates when you're sending some of this cold outreach, right? Actually can improve warm outreach as well. All right. Let's say you're in real estate. I think I saw one person I know in the chat who's actually in real estate. So that's fun. And so this is a property lead automation workflow. So this actually does a property search. So you can configure it to say city, property type, value range, equity percentage, owner status, and more. So you kind of do all of this stuff. It then uses an API to search for these properties. It filters them, gets the owner contact information with another API call, formats all of that, puts it all into a spreadsheet and pushes it into a CRM at the same time, and then sends an email notification. So this is automatic lead development that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, you might not be in real estate, you might be in something else, but in general, if you're all looking for new prospects to sell to, there are tons of different APIs you can use that are gonna do that. All you need to think of, like, what are my search criteria? Where are my prospects and how can I filter by them? And then, using things like Zoom Info to grab the data and grab the information from publicly available sources. All of this can be automated. These are things we used to pay, like email list services, right? Now we can do it all ourselves and generate these in near real time. This is something we use at Level. This is a client knowledge navigator. This is using a custom, actually a GPT assistant with a kind of one level above a custom GPT. We're taking all client calls, all platform data, all SOW briefs, client emails, Slack channel information. We're throwing it all in pretty unstructured into one area. And then through Slack, we are able to interact with that. So these are things like asking about customer style guides, asking about persona, hitting that persona twin, or even asking, hey, how was performance yesterday? And, how did it compare to last week? And what did we talk about on that call last week? And are we, help me prepare for the upcoming meeting. All of this is learning every single day as we continue to add more data into it. This is a really easy one. This is one I use literally 4 or 5 times a day. I'm always on the go, always have my cell phone on me. So this actually triggers from it my iPhone button right here on the side here, and it will record a voice memo. It then takes that voice memo, it transcribes it, uses an AI agent to parse out what I was talking about, and a lot of it is gibberish, and the AI agent does a really good job. Then it creates a task in Asana, adds all my transcript and everything as a comment, and then sends that task to my executive assistant. This honestly, like, if we're running up the stairs, I have an idea, I'm able to quickly do it, frictionless way of being able to track these ideas and get them into a system. Just one really easy way that anyone could set up. You can see there's 6 nodes here, and I'm using N8N, 6 nodes to do this. All right, I get questions a lot around email. I actually have a whole email system that I built in N8N, but this was a way, and I teach all new executives and all new folks that come into our organization how to do this. How do you get email that actually sounds like you, right? And that's very, very important, because like ChatGPT email is pretty bad. If you're like, hey, just write an email on this, and so here's the exact prompt I use. I'm going to build a GPT. And then I took like 40 emails that from my sent items that I liked, and I just pasted them down below. And then it came back with Patrick Patterson's email writing style guidelines. It took 2 minutes, right? And then what's really cool is I created this automatic email draft, which I know it looks complicated. It's actually not that complicated. It goes in, it finds everything that I've labeled as write a draft as a label. It then will hit OpenAI to summarize it, and then use the tool, the AI agent tool here, and use my style guide to draft a response. So it gets all of the information around the threads, gets all the message detail, uses all of that of context to create a draft. It then saves that as a draft and notifies my executive assistant, hey, this draft is here. You need human eyes on it, and then I can send it. Right. Again, I'm using a lot of this to automate some of the blank page, not to automate the actual sending of it, but this is automating the blank page of, hey, I need a draft. So I can actually click on like 20 emails at a time, say, write a first draft. I call it I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, Camille, but I am a shitty first draft. If you don't want to swear, you can call it a sloppy first copy, and then have a human actually look and edit it. This one, I've actually not shared this in a presentation before. This is my research team. So I have 3 agents. They all share the same memory. You can see right here, they're all sharing the same memory. And again, I'm using N8N for this. It gets an idea that I submit via form. It then researches that idea. And you can see I'm using actually different models here. And there's a reason for that. So O3 Mini is going to be super fast, but this is going to just give me some very light research. I'm then having it create in Google Docs a research document. It's going to upload that brief, and I'm going to have a research brief. I'm going to pass that off to a research analyst who's using O3. This is much more expensive than O3 Mini per token, but it takes a lot more time. But that's what I want the analyst. I want the analyst to have a lot more kind of in depth. It then uploads the research, and then the research reviewer is going to take a look at the brief, the research, and the idea and say, hey, did it hit it? If not, let's make some edits. It's going to use 4.1, a little cheaper here to do that, but also a little bit better at writing kind of English speaking words, right? So something you want to read. Then it's going to upload that summary, and I get all of that into Airtable, right? So this allows me to have an idea like, hey, I want to write a social media post about this. I can then get that and have a whole research team work through that. And this is kind of V1 of it. V2, actually, you know, if the research reviewer says it wasn't good enough, can actually send it back to the research lead and the research analyst. Or you could have multiple research analysts that are working at the same time that have maybe a different, maybe the one research analyst is thinking about the human side of it, and the other one's thinking about the technology side of it, and they're adding different different versions of the same research. So all of this can be easily set up. I think this whole thing took me about 30 minutes to set up in N8N. Very, very easy stuff. This one's a little bit, go ahead,
Agents are
Camille,
working
go ahead.
together, Patrick. The agents are collaborating.
They can. Right now, they're just sharing a memory. So this one knows exactly what this one did, but it is still kind of linear, right? It is still saying, okay, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, where, you know, each one of these is doing their own thing. You could have, and I have other workflows where you kind of have a reviewer at the top that would say, okay, hey, this wasn't good enough, send it back. This wasn't good enough, send it back. And the agents become tools of that super agent that is telling all of the other agents what to do. So this is more linear, but you can create, I've found, and I don't know if anyone in the audience has a different experience, when you have that, you burn up tokens, you burn up, you know, which costs money. And so, and they take forever. And so, you know, really you want a human kind of in here. And if this isn't good enough, typically what I'll do here is I'll just start over with a better, you know, better information around the idea. Maybe modify my prompts in here a little bit. But you know, having that super agent over top, which is directing other agents, it's not quite there yet in my experience.
Yeah. And then the human that you have overseeing these research agents, is that a manager level hire, a director level hire? What?
I mean, she's amazing. She's my executive analyst, Gloria, and she's, you know, she's a manager level, and young and great and smart and awesome. You know, you don't need a co-CEO to be reviewing it, right?
Right.
All right. I'm going to go quick. I think I have about 5 more minutes. I can share this presentation. There's a lot of cool tips and tricks at the end here. But this is one every day. Instead of my executive assistant sending me a calendar summary, this actually goes through, grabs my calendar for the next day and says, hey, these are everything is happening. This is everything you need to be prepared for. And then it sends me a beautiful, every morning at 5 in the morning, I get, hey, this is how you prepare for your day to day. This is everything that's going on. Now that just might be for me. I could also just open my calendar, but what this does is it can go and it can get more information from past meetings that I've had. And it also incorporates a file here, which is this right here, which incorporates a text document or a Word document with all kind of context about my meetings. And so I'm giving it like, this is what's important. This is what is important to me. These are important contacts. And it's really kind of prioritizing my schedule and then making suggestions and saying, hey, like you're back to back to back here. You might want to think about eating lunch earlier. Actually makes those suggestions. All right. So those are just some fun ways that I'm using it. Typically, when I get into this, I have a lot of people ask me, "That's all great, Pat. You're a coder. That's awesome. I can't do any of this. So I'm, what can I do?" Really, really, really quick. I can give you some quick and dirty tips where you can start to use, and let's just talk about ChatGPT. We don't need to talk about all the other ones. Let's just talk about ChatGPT. Quick and dirty tips on when you should use these different models. And so, everyone, when you log in, you're going to see 4.0. I actually stopped using 4.0. I don't use 4.0 ever. Unless it's a question that I don't care how good the response is. Like, that's the only time I use 4.0. I use 4.5 for all creative email writing. Anytime a human's going to be reading it, I'm running it through 4.5. 0.3, my daily driver, problem solving, advanced reasoning, absolutely amazing. And then 0.4 mini, that's going to be for automations and fast things and coding. And 0.4 mini high, you don't really need to worry about that. You'll see 4.1. It's pretty good. I would right now probably use 0.3 for most daily things that I'm using, and then 4.5 when I'm starting to get into, okay, I want it to be a little bit more creative. I want it to give me an output. If you don't have these things, it's probably because you don't have a paid account. So it's really, really important you get a paid account. 0.1, 0.3 is a reasoning model. The way that you prompt it has to be a little bit different. And so it's important that you follow this format. This is actually written by the person who invented 0.1, right? So it doesn't get any better than this tip right here. State your goal. This is what I want done. Say how you want that the output to be done in a return format. Give it any warnings, and then a bunch of context. Just like you were working with an intern, you would do all of those things in a meeting with your intern. You would give it a goal. You would say, this is how I want it returned to me. You would say, watch out for this stuff. And here's all the information that you need to know, right? Very, very, very similar to how you work with 0.1 and 0.3 to get the best results. I will say, a lot of this will probably go away as prompting gets easier and the models come back and ask us questions and actually think for us and start prompting for us. But right now it is very important that you know how to get the best out of 0.1 and 0.3. If you run an organization and you're not using ChatGPT Team Edition, you should absolutely consider it. It's $10 more per user per month, but then you can, decommission and commission users. You can make sure none of them are using, sharing anything that can be used to enhance the model. So it's all secure, just as secure as like a Google Drive or a Gmail. And then you can, get analytics on who's using them and who's not using them, so you can help with adoption. Highly recommend it. We have all 200 of our folks here using ChatGPT Team Edition, and highly recommend this for your team. If you want to create a custom GPT, there's a link for you. It just takes you to the GPT how-to on OpenAI's website. But this is where you can go in and you can configure things. You don't have to use this configure page. You can actually just talk to it like it's a person, and you can just say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Here's all the information. It'll automatically create it for you. And then you can go into configure and you can add some things. So this is where you could create that persona twin. Maybe you want to upload all of your brand documents. Maybe you want to, only work on it with this. I would say if you're doing a task and you find yourself always uploading the same documents, always uploading the same context, that's a perfect point for you to consider using a custom GPT. They're very, very easy to use. You don't pay for them. You create them. You can make them private. They're not shared. All right. Go quickly here. Some bonus, because I can't help myself. Go really fast.
Can you tell which one of these ads is AI? If you guess both, you're right. But did you notice that I'm AI generated too? Hi, I'm Kenan, founder of Icon. We're the first AI ad maker.
I'm going to pause this because we don't have a ton of time. There are a ton of tools right now that are actually out there helping you generate AI creative. I want to talk specifically about marketing because that's what I know and I love. We are testing 30 different ad creative tools right now. Icon is very good. All of them right now are about 80%, 85% good enough. So what that means is, can you replace your entire agency with AI creative? No. Can you fire all of your graphic designers? Absolutely not. But great graphic designers with great taste can use these tools to be a lot more efficient and to do about 85% of the work that used to take them 85% of the time. So they're able to be 4 to 5 times more strategic, more efficient. Hello, everyone. I'm AI Patrick, the better looking, never tired, caffeine-free version of Real Patrick. Clearly, I'm your ideal corporate trainer, patient, endlessly repeatable, and definitely cheaper by the hour. But let's be honest, I still lack Patrick's charisma and, well, human charm. So, while I'm perfect for internal docs, endless onboarding, or translating Patrick's rants into multiple languages, like Spanish. Mis chistes son aún peores en español. French. Mon français est terrible, désolé. Or German. Ich bin lustiger auf Englisch, versprochen. You might not want me closing your next multi-million-dollar deal. Yet. Enjoy the rest of the keynote from Real Patrick. I hear he's pretty good, despite being human. So I get a lot of questions. Hey, I want to replace my entire sales staff with AI. Guys, this is still pretty uncanny valley. It's very, very good, right? It's way better than it was a year ago, even better than it was 6 months ago. This is not good enough for you to replace people, to replace frontline workers. It is very, very good, I think, for internal documents. It's also very good at chat, maybe customer support, where you have a ton of inbound customer support, maybe tier 1, but not good enough to say, hey, I'm going to fire my entire sales team and replace them all with AI, right? But this is stuff you should be playing with as a CEO, as someone who's trying to grow your organization.
I hear a lot of organizations, Patrick, they're using these avatars for sales training. So, hey, make all the mistakes in the world, team, right? With the avatar, and then obviously using it for coaching techniques too.
100%. The audio is actually really good. I use 11 Labs. I have 11 Labs AI agent that is trained on all of my background. It sounds like me. It talks like me. It actually fooled my wife, if that's not scary enough for everyone here. So make sure you have some sort of keyword with the people that you love for audio transactions. But for new hires, being able to talk to me in a real-time basis and ask questions and not feel like, oh man, you can ask a stupid question to an AI. No, they're not going to care, right? These are tools that I daily drive. I use these every day. If you haven't used any of these, I would just recommend going to their website and checking them out. Really, really cool stuff. If you want some examples of agents, Dharmesh Shah, I love him, CTO of HubSpot. He created Agent AI. There's a lot of really great agents on there to spark your curiosity and your interest. Voices I follow, Ethan, Andrew. I also love the artificial intelligence show with Paul and Mike. And then Marketing Against the Grain with Kip and Kieran is phenomenal. So I recommend following all of these folks. You're going to get a lot more information than I can ever give you in a 45-minute talk. And these are the folks that keep me up to speed. So I'll probably go through this quickly, but I really believe there are 3 types of organizations today. There are companies that are creating the AI tech. There are companies that are adopting it, and there are obsolete organizations, right? So the question is, what is your AI strategy? And actually, that's the wrong question. It's what is your strategy and how can AI enable it? I get asked a lot, hey, Pat, what's your AI strategy? And it actually makes me mad. I think this isn't about coming up with a new strategy. It's saying, this is my strategy. This is where I win. And this is how I'm going to have tools like AI to help me get there, right? I don't have an electricity strategy, but I use it every single day to do my job, right? Just like I don't have an internet strategy, I'm not going to have an AI strategy. I'm going to use AI at every single aspect of what I do. Becoming an AI emergent company, it starts with the CEO. You need to stop saying no. You need to get your data in a good place. I have a whole talk that is just on this, just on how to prepare, how to get your company into that. You need to think lean. You need to think modular. You need to think, hey, I'm going to replace this tool in 15 days. I'm not going to get too attached or too married to anything so that I can fail fast and I can fail often. I was just on a call this morning with another CEO. He's like, man, I feel really behind. The best time to start implementing this was yesterday, unfortunately, just like planting a tree. Second best time is today, right? So what can you do today? There's a checklist. You can scan that. It will be in the presentation when it's sent out as well. These are all the different things that you can do to implement generative AI inside of your organization. And then I'll leave you with this. Imagine you started your business today, leveraging all the tools that exist. How would it be different? This is what we do in our quarterly planning sessions. We actually ask this question every single quarter, and then that becomes our plan for the next 90 days on how we're going to improve the organization. Because if we don't do it, I guarantee you our competitors are doing it, right? Because they're out there, they're starting new businesses with all of the tools. They don't have the baggage. They're not trying to turn a larger ship. And so you need to be thinking different. You need to be thinking about how your organization is different. With that, you can feel free to reach out to me. These are all the different ways to reach out to me. My biz dev team hates that I give you all of these options because some people will text, some people will email, some people will follow me on Twitter. If you really want to get a response from me, probably the best way is to text me. You can feel free. And then if you go to this page, you can download some of my past presentations, some of my other presentations, and we can talk through some things. So hopefully if I did my job here, Camille, the folks that joined are a little bit more excited, maybe a little bit of FOMO of saying, man, I really want to get into this, and have some ideas on how they can turn all of this hype into doing real things really efficiently for them and their teams.
This was fantastic. Thank you so much, Patrick. Gosh, you're just the wealth of knowledge when it comes to everything AI, and I know you're so much more than that as well. We don't have a ton of time for questions, but we have a few minutes, and what we're going to do is we will recap some key takeaways for all of the attendees, and we will also ensure that we cover any questions in the Q&A that we did not have time for in that takeaway. Let's start off, Patrick, with deep research. How do you and your team validate deep research output?
Man, and it is hard because you get like 17 pages, and who has time to read 17 pages, right? So you're like copy and paste it into Google Docs and then send it out. I'm going to tell you, it's like 80% right. So, my first thing would be, if you're going to send a 17-page document to someone, read every single word of it. And so that's the first thing we do. The first thing I'll do is I'll actually read every single word of it. So instead of actually typing it all, I'm reading it all. So it's not saving me a ton of time because I still need to read every single page and then make edits to it. But I think that kind of subject matter editor versus subject matter expert is going to be kind of the future. So I would surround myself with people that know right from wrong, that are subject matter experts, and have those folks review this. The other question I ask a lot around deep research and around some of these AI outputs is like, if I'm going to give it 4 lines of text and it's going to give me 17 pages of information, and I'm going to take that 17 pages of information and I'm going to send it to one of my leaders, and that leader is going to put it back into ChatGPT and bring it down to 4 lines of text, and actually not actually read it. Like, what is the value of what I just did? So, thinking through how you're using it and when you're using it is actually almost as important as how you validate it.
Love it. Love it. Makes a lot of sense. And didn't really correlate AI to more reading. So thank you for that. What about, thank you for that question, Allison, too. What about, you walked us through these different workflows, agents, et cetera, can be pretty overwhelming to try to digest and wrap your head around. We've got some audience members that are scratching their head right now, wondering, okay, where do I actually start in building
it's a
these
great question.
workflows? So obviously high level answer.
Yeah. Before I do that, I just have to address the comment in chat with Peter. My whole thing, Peter, is at the end of this, he's saying that I am actually AI generated. It's going to be like a Scooby-Doo moment. I actually pull off my mask and I was AI the whole time. So I think it's a great question on where do I get started. So the first place I would start, it sounds daunting, but I would start with like a Zapier or a Make or an N8N, probably in that order. Maybe N8N before Make these days.
Can you say it again just for those who
so Zapier, however you want to pronounce it, I still don't know. Zapier. Just go in, create an account, connect something like Gmail to it, connect maybe use Monday or ClickUp, or you use Asana, connect something like that, and just do something simple, like something that you do every day. Like have it like, here are your overdue tasks for the day or something like that. And just see how easy it is to actually connect 2 tools together, become that orchestrator. And then once you do that, add a 3rd tool in, add a 4th tool, right? And start thinking about how this data passes back and forth. I know it can sound daunting. I promise you, you do not need to be a coder to be able to do this. You just need to be curious, and you just need to say, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go fail 17 times before I succeed. And those are the ones that, those are the folks that are going to succeed in the future. I personally love N8N. And if you could like go through, there's some certifications you can get on that. If you could get that, I promise you it will change your life. That N8N plus ChatGPT, life changing for any executive, any leader, any manager, any employee.
Fantastic. Jenny, could you actually share? We have a QR code. We have a partnership, speaking of education and certifications. We're partnering with Section School, which is an AI academy online for executives. Yeah. And they have a ton of classes around how you actually can set up workflows, a lot more of the how. I've been taking classes in the evening and I absolutely love it. So I said, let's partner and offer this to those that follow us and engage with us. With this QR code, there is a discount. So, and then real quick, you touched on talent a bit right there, Patrick, right? Who should be leading some of these efforts? I'm with you. I believe this is more change management than technology.
100%. Yep.
Right. And so I think what we're looking for in terms of talent when it comes to implementing AI across organizations, director level, manager level, and beyond, where we can redeploy resources internally within an organization. First, it's who's beyond passionate about AI, who's raising their hand saying, I want to figure it out, who's taking the time outside the typical business hours are going beyond the expectation to learn everything about AI, and then who has those change management skills and the ability to really operationalize implementing these changes across a workforce, which is not easy work. So we are seeing some folks coming, the obvious data science, right? But the non-obvious from operations, and those that are really good at change management. What's your take on
Yeah.
that?
And, I would say all of those things. So I agree, like curiosity, we've implemented across our entire organization kind of, hey, AI literacy is now a non-negotiable. It's part of our hiring, firing, promoting, how we rate and how we, consider top talent inside of our organization. We've included it in the hiring process, very similar to you, Camille, is what we're looking for, but also we're testing for it. By having folks have an unstructured task that they're going to have to use AI for, and actually doing that task during the hiring process. What we're finding is, about 20-30% of your staff is going to be very, very resistant to a lot of these things. And you want to make sure that you're, meeting them where they are, you're giving them all the education, you're giving them all the tools to be successful, but also probably saying, hey, this is what success is. And if you don't get on board, there's might be another organization that you can work for that you'll be successful in. But here, this is what's required. And just being really, really clear on that. And, I would say in the past 6 months, that's the number one thing most organizations can adopt is a stricter way on how they're bringing and assessing talent based on their AI readiness in the future.
Yep. Bingo. Bingo. All right. Well, that is going to be a wrap. We do have a 1-minute survey. We'd love your feedback. It's how we get better and improve these sessions and ensure that we're bringing all of you the content that you're looking for. So if you can fill out that 1-minute survey, it's in the chat. And thank you, Patrick, for an extremely valuable session together, your candor, your tactical depth, really walking us through the how. This has been beyond helpful. And now I think we're all feeling like we've got a lot of work to do. So talk about AI not replacing jobs, but also creating jobs and creating opportunity for all.
There's so much work to do. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for listening to me rant for 45 minutes here as well. Hard to get all of this information into a 45-minute presentation. So thank you for having me on, and hopefully inspired a few folks. Appreciate it.
I know you did. Thanks everyone for being here. We really appreciate you.